The Supreme Court just gave Donald Trump the green light to violate the Constitution whenever and however he wants. I'll show you.
I just might add one thing, and they used birthright citizenship, some of the worst people, some of the cartels, to get people into our country, just so you know. And again, I say, if you look at the end of the Civil War, the 1800s, it was a very turbulent time. If you take the end day, was it 1869 or whatever, but you take that exact day, that's when the case was filed. And the case ended shortly thereafter. This had to do with the babies of slaves, very, very obviously. And I think we're going to win. People I don't think they went about discussing it right. I came along and we looked and we said, wait a minute, this is wrong. We've been looking at birthright citizenship wrong for years, but they've used it. The cartels have used birthright citizenship to get very bad people in. And what Pam's doing and what Todd and everybody else, what they're doing at DOJ and all over, FBI, ICE, Border Patrol, these are incredible people. They're trying to keep our country safe, and they don't want to have people come in. This is just another way that they get illegal immigrants into our country, and in some cases, very, very bad ones. Go ahead.
He's talking about babies. He's talking about children. These very, very bad illegal immigrants are children. That is who they are talking about within the context of birthright citizenship. Sure, there are older people in this country who have citizenship through birthright, but the immediate impact will be felt by children, by newborn babies. Remember that. But Trump wants you to believe that this doesn't apply, that the Constitution itself isn't applicable.
I want to thank Justice Barrett, who wrote the opinion brilliantly, as well as Chief Justice Roberts, and Justices Alito, Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, and Thomas. Great people. Thanks for this decision, and thanks to this decision, we can now promptly file to proceed with numerous policies that have been wrongly enjoined on a nationwide basis. And some of the cases we're talking about would be ending birthright citizenship, which now comes to the fore. That was meant for the babies of slaves. It wasn't meant for people trying to scam the system and come into the country on a vacation. This was, in fact, it was the same date, the exact same date, the end of the Civil War. It was meant for the babies of slaves, and it's so clean and so obvious. But this lets us go there and finally win that case, because hundreds of thousands of people are pouring into our country under birthright citizenship, and it wasn't meant for that reason. Was meant for the babies of slaves.
Before the 14th Amendment, people who were born here were citizens of their state, but ultimately of the United States. And of course, the Constitution was amended via the 14th Amendment, but there was a Supreme Court case from 1898 that ruled that people who were born here have citizenship, regardless of where their parents are from, regardless of their parents' citizenship status. That's how far back this goes. In short, that's always been part of the United States. That's been our understanding of citizenship. And unless your parents or your ancestors were Native Americans and indigenous to this country, that's how all of our ancestors became citizens.
The Democrat AG in Arizona apparently it doesn't really know the people she actually represents. Watch this.
I don't think that voters in Arizona, whoever they voted for, ever thought that they would be voting to undermine birthright citizenship or to destroy birthright citizenship.
Senator, this is a very lopsided issue that runs against the Democrats, but that's a Democrat state attorney general. Does this not confirm in people's mind the idea that Democrats put illegal immigrants first and not American citizens' rights?
But now, over 100 years later, it's on the chopping block. Donald Trump is attacking American citizens' rights. He's chipping away at the Constitution, and he is erasing our long-standing laws. He has been on a mission to end birthright citizenship since he took office in January. And right away, he issued an executive order attacking it. But because it is so patently unconstitutional, federal judges blocked it. That is their job. That's any public servant's job, to protect and uphold the Constitution. But because he's packed the Supreme Court with MAGA justices, they just ruled in his favor, limiting the ability of federal judges to grant injunctions.
Active liberal judges have used these injunctions to block virtually all of President Trump's policies. To put this in perspective, there are 94 federal judicial districts. 5 of those districts throughout this country held 35 of the nationwide injunctions. Think about that. 94 districts. And 35 out of the 40 opinions with nationwide injunctions came from 5 liberal districts in this country. No longer. No longer.
Now, Pam Bondi seems pretty mad for somebody who just got exactly what she wanted. But with this ruling from the Supreme Court, we don't have a definitive answer to how this will go. There are many questions regarding how this will be implemented, what this will look like, who will this impact, how many people will it affect.
Under birthright citizenship, if this is implemented, who would be tasked with actually vetting citizenship? And how, like, would this be a situation where you have nurses and doctors checking for citizenship of parents, or?
This is all pending litigation. It's going to be decided in October by the Supreme Court, and we'll discuss that after the litigation.
If you have an undocumented baby, would that baby then be an enforcement priority?
The violent criminals in our country are the priority now. Let me put it in perspective. Today marked the 2,711th arrest in our country of TDA members. Just TDA. Everyone in this room agrees they are one of the most violent criminal organizations in the world. And the Biden administration let them walk into our country for the last 4 years. 2,711 of them today have been arrested in our country. That is the priority of Donald Trump. That is the priority of this country, of Homeland Security, of all of our lawyers, of FBI. That's the priority. That will be discussed in October when the Supreme Court hopefully rules in our favor, and we're very confident of that. But you should all feel safer now that President Trump can deport all of these gangs, and not one district court judge can think they're an emperor over this administration and his executive powers and why the people of the United States elected him.
That reporter had a great question. Is it now the responsibility of nurses and doctors to determine a mother who's in the process or has just given birth, to identify her citizenship? Hey, congrats on your new child. Let me see those papers. This is ridiculous. Clearly, Pam Bondi herself doesn't know what this is going to look like. And the people who have to hammer out the law and figure this out have questions themselves. All around, it is a messy and confusing development.
I think this is a really huge win for the Trump administration. I'm glad that we're talking about it in those terms, because I think one of the great fears with this case was that if the court did not say anything about the substance and scope of the 14th Amendment, media would say that the court had saved birthright citizenship. The court has not saved birthright citizenship. It simply kicked that can down the line and made the legal conditions under which a future suit over birthright citizenship can actually be resolved. This is a huge win for the Trump administration because the court has essentially kneecapped lower courts from stopping this administration when it engages in lawless and unconstitutional behavior.
Now, this not only sets the precedent for Trump to end birthright citizenship if he wants, it allows Trump going forward to violate the Constitution and limits any checks or balances from the federal judiciary. I'm old enough to remember that during the Biden administration, when a lone conservative federal judge would issue a nationwide sweeping injunction, Republicans celebrated it. Now, all of a sudden, they don't want judges to have that power. And with the lower courts now limited in their ability to be an effective check or balance on the Trump administration, the only hope left is the Supreme Court. And I'm not holding my breath. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Can't thank you enough.